breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Wednesday, December 24th, 2025. It is Christmas Eve. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show, and I'm your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you today. Hope you guys are having a good holiday season. Merry Christmas. Christmas is tomorrow. Merry Christmas Eve. Got the hat on, got the groove on. We got some stories that we're going to hit on today. Let's do a quick market recap in terms of the macro trends. We'll talk about some of the stories we're going to talk about today right after. Okay. There we go. Dow Jones is up 0.45%. NASDAQ is up 0.03%. S&P 500 is up 0.22%. And Bitcoin is down 0.98% to 86,943. We got some good stories we're going to talk about today. Tim Cook made a major purchase of a different company, and we know he's been kind of looking to leave Apple. So which company is that? We'll talk about that. Bitcoin miners thriving off a new side hustle. What is that? We'll have to see. A couple articles from the Financial Times titled, "No, you can't tell when something was written by AI." Another article titled, "A Stream of Negativity. Why are Labor MPs still sticking with X?" From TechCrunch, Zoox issues software recall over lane crossings. That's not good. Finally, we have Italy tells Meta to suspend its policy that bans rival AI chatbots from WhatsApp. And then we're going to talk about my take on that. So before we get into that, though, make sure to download Byte AI Market Analysis, which is a financial co-pilot that tells you when to enter and exit the market, basically a recommendation about why. It bases it off of technical indicators like the RSI curve, Bollinger Bands, and MACD/signal curve, as well as news sentiment. And it gives you a very succinct and simple and pithy way. It refreshes very quickly every half hour to an hour. I had this up a little bit before. And you can use it as a day trading tool. Of course, it's not a financial advisor, neither am I, and past success does not indicate future results, but it's a great tool that I use every morning when I trade, as well as throughout the day. Okay, let's get into our first story from seekingalpha.com. Nike gains after Apple's Tim Cook buys the dip. So the story came out this morning, and I thought it was interesting because we know that Tim Cook is reported to leave Apple kind of in the beginning of 2026. So it's kind of widely speculated that after this holiday season comes to a close, that Tim Cook is going to go pursue another opportunity. And I'm kind of betting on that if I was a betting man. So I would guess that he's out of Apple by end of January, perhaps February. And we'll have to see if that pans out. I think it will. That's my prediction. But when I saw this, I thought that was kind of interesting because Apple's Tim Cook buys Nike. Apparently, he bought $2.95 million on December 22nd. So just 2 days ago. What are the odds? And let me just say this. Tim Cook isn't just retiring. He's apparently going to go to a different company, perhaps. I think the most, and we've talked about it here before on the show a couple weeks ago. Reportedly, he's going to, quote, pursue another opportunity. So what are the odds that the other opportunity is an executive position at Nike? I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, wouldn't you invest $2.95 million if you're the CEO of Apple and you're about to perhaps leave in the next few months. I might do that theoretically, right? If everything's above board, I don't know the exact little nitty gritty in terms of if that's technically an inside trade or not. But if everything's above board, right? Theoretically, I might do that. So just a thought. Could Nike be the destination that Tim Cook is going to go to post Apple? We'll have to see. Wall Street Journal, Bitcoin miners thrive off a new side hustle, retooling their data centers for AI. The pivot for AI has lifted a Bitcoin mining ETF by around 90% this year, even as Bitcoin itself has slumped. Yeah, Bitcoin, as we said at the beginning of the show, is kind of in a slump at around 86,911 today. And, I kind of saw this coming because the big thing for Bitcoin mining, I mean, it's pretty clear. Like, what is there in common between Bitcoin mining and AI? They both use GPUs. Okay, so in 2017, when Bitcoin mining was the big thing, it kind of made sense in the advent of AI and their need for GPUs in 2022 that, okay, well, those can be retooled probably. I'm kind of surprised how slow things are. Like, here we are in the end of 2025, almost 2026, and it's like AI came out in 2022, right? And that's when, I mean, everybody knew that they're using GPUs. So it's like, okay. I mean, I didn't have a Bitcoin mine at the time, but yeah, it's kind of late. Okay. No, you can't tell when something was written by AI. Context matters as much as content in determining whether text is machine generated or not. I thought this was interesting because basically there are telltale signs on whether or not it's AI, right? So just basically the rule of three whenever there are examples given in text, as well as M dashes, right? But this lady, this author, Elaine Moore from the Financial Times, kind of provides a compelling argument in this op-ed, basically saying, yeah, I mean, you can tell if there are these obvious tells, and the first thing she kind of talks about is the M dashes, the rule of three, and underscoring. But she says that there are, and this was the most interesting part of the article to me. She's like, there are tools out there that will even humanize your AI work. And then when she fed the AI text into a humanizer and then back into an AI detector, it said that the words were 100% written by a human. So this is really interesting because, how dumb can you be if you're continuing to just write your own work, right? In general, why not have AI just do everything? You know what I'm saying? And this goes back to a rant I did, I think last week, but just touching on that without going into it. It's you will never be better than AI, never, in any subject, whether it's coding or whether it's writing. So I think you're behind the curve, especially if you don't use AI. And I've worked with boomers before who, it's like an ego thing. It's like, oh no, I'm better than the AI. You think some computer is gonna tell me what to do? It's like, no. The computer is better than you because it's based on math and matrices, and then the most likely next token, what it should be, right? In other words, word or character. And you can't beat the math, especially when you have these big data centers, these big, Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners retooled as data centers that are working on it, right? It's just too much compute, too much math going in the back end. You can't compete against that. I mean, you're just a human, you know what I'm saying? So it's yeah, I mean, I just think you're dumb if you don't use AI for everything. Sucks to suck. Okay. Financial Times, a stream of negativity and abuse. Why Labor MPs still sticking with X? So they're talking about just like online discourse that can be heated on X. And I was debating whether or not to bring this up, and I don't want to go too much into it, but um, I given that we want to keep it light a little bit, I was reading this, and of course, Financial Times is like British, um, and so and in the spirit of having a little fun, when I read this, right, I could kind of see it. Like I almost can only read it in an English accent in my mind. And mine, we're gonna give it a go right now just for fun. Despite concerns, politicians continue to use Elon Musk's platform in a search of a quote civilized debate with constituents, right? And it's just like the point being though, this is such like I feel like only the English would come up with wording like this, right? Never mind the S instead of Z. And I just think it's kind of like cute and funny. Um, so yeah. So I guess just getting into the article. I love English people, by the way. I love British people. I just think like, obviously being American myself, accent's kind of funny. But aside from that, um, in the article itself, it kind of talks about how they're really kind of like seething a little bit, like just all of the UK against X, and there's sort of begrudgingly admitting that they're Labour Party leaders and other MPs within the party and other parties as well are still using X. They're like, oh man, I can't believe they're still using X. And so here's a quote, but everyone is still on there. Okay, so yeah, but now it's become a constant stream of negativity, right? That's what they're saying. And then, but everyone is still on there. So until people move off it in lockstep, nothing will change. Like they want that so much. They're seething at the fact that people are still using X. Like I use X daily, right? And it's like it's just kind of funny because it's that same seethe that you see when boomers are talking about like young tech founders that are getting backed by Y Combinator, backed by H0F, all these big startup accelerators. And it's like they're making hundreds of billions of dollars, right? Their companies are valued that, and they're only like high school graduates. Like it's the same seed at them coming from boomers that you see from the UK to X. And it's just kind of interesting. It's like, drop the anger, bro. Like, it's okay. It's okay. They won and you lost. It's all right. And so that's kind of interesting. So they're kind of talking about X here. Here's another quote I highlighted or just snippet. While rival platforms such as Blue Sky and Meta's Threads are becoming more prevalent, they have yet to gain sufficient traction to serve as credible alternatives. Yeah, they're really wanting to join those, but not enough people are there. So they're saying, they're begrudgingly admitting that they have to keep using X, like I said. Yeah, and then finally, I guess the Labour Party, the Labour MP for Hackney North and Stoke Newington says, generally it has become a pretty unpleasant place, but the thing is, it is still a great communication tool. So there you go. Yeah, I think we're going to leave that there, but just as kind of a lighter piece, just on with the main takeaway being seethe. Let's move on to TechCrunch. Zoox issues software recall over lane crossings. It goes into the article. Apparently there was this recall. A Zoox spokesperson, let me say that again. A Zoox spokesperson told TechCrunch that company identified some instances in which vehicles made maneuvers that, while common for human drivers, didn't meet its standards. For example, in an effort to avoid blocking certain intersections at a red light, the robo-taxi might stop in a crosswalk. In other instances, the robo-taxi made a late turn, resulting in a wide turn, according to spokesperson's emailed statement. Well, you know what my take on this is? What my opinion on this is? Someone needs to be fired. They need to be fired. You can't have that. You can't do that. Issue a software update and then have it recalled because the robo taxis stop in the middle of crosswalks or make wide turns. I'm sorry. We got to keep our standards high. Out of there. Italy tells Meta to suspend its policy that bans rival AI chatbots from WhatsApp. So we talked about this a few weeks ago. And my position then was that the EU shouldn't be regulating them. They already killed iRobot, right, which we talked about earlier this week and last week, via their regulation and their scrutiny. I think I had said then that the EU shouldn't really get involved in this and let Meta do what it wants. And I'm continuing with that. I want to add a small thought to this, though, to Meta. I think what would have been cleaner, like I'm still against the EU sort of over-regulating and killing companies, and just fining companies like X, right, and Apple, like billions of dollars. While I still think that shouldn't occur, Meta could have been more smart about this and they should have done it with like capitalism. Like they should have just made it absurdly expensive to just from a developer interface perspective to like post messages and read messages via the developer interface on their WhatsApp API, like on their WhatsApp platform, and then just made Meta AI just extremely absurdly cheap. I think they should have done that instead of just outright ban all of the other ones. But I still sort of push forward with, still though, even that may it be the case, the EU shouldn't be over-regulating these companies, including Meta, over this issue. So I think I'm going to leave it there today. Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas Eve. So hope you guys are going to eat some good food tonight and just enjoy time with hopefully your family and everybody. We're going to leave it there. See you tomorrow. Peace.